Well, as you longtime viewers know by now, we record these shows on Tuesday, and before we record our shows, we do a members-only show where Steve, Scott, and I get together, and we talk about what we're going to be talking about during the Right Angle shows. And we just had that meeting just about an hour or so ago, and I came in and I said, guys, I got. It's not that I don't have a topic; it's that I don't feel like I can even come up with something that we haven't said 100 times before. It's either COVID or Biden or racism, and every now and then SpaceX. And I'm looking at all of these news stories, and everything I see is falling into these three categories. And I realize that I've lost. I feel like a runner who's pulled an Achilles tendon. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm not filled with despair. I'm not filled with depression. I'm filled with an incredible sense of disbelief at the things I see every day. And mostly I'm filled with an overwhelming sense of just plain sadness. I'll watch something on YouTube. I'll watch some kind of a comedy sketch from 5 years ago or 7 years ago, and all the comments will be, "That's hilarious. You could never do that today." And guys, I don't know what to do about it. Steve, we had a great conversation on the member show, and I thought, my God, I'm just being a crybaby here, and I just need to just pull it together. But I cannot. I just don't know what to say about this stuff anymore. And on that show, we mentioned that when I moved to Florida when I was 11, a lot of houses in Florida had small pools, and we had one, and I was responsible for taking care of the pool. And as time went on, the pool got milkier and milkier. No matter what I did with the chlorine levels, it just got cloudier and cloudier. And then I heard about this process called backwashing the filter, where you basically put flow the other way, and all of this green goop just comes belching out of this thing. And it blew all the particles out of the filter, and then the pool went back to filtering water the way it used to feel. And that's how I think I feel, Steve. I feel like my outrage filter and my disbelief filter and my sadness filter are just clogged up, and I'm pegged, and I don't feel anything past that anymore. I'm not talking about giving up. I just don't know what to do with it anymore.
Yeah. There's a Heinlein quote that I can't remember exactly, but I can get the gist of it. He said something like, reading the news every day is a terrible habit, just involving yourself in the troubles of millions of strangers, people you'll never know, is just not good for you. Problem is, that's our job. We have to wallow in this stuff. And yeah, those particles build up in the filter. I never had a pool, but I've got one of these modern dishwashers that sucks because, it's so advanced. And instead of having a disposal in there to take care of the particles, there's a removable filter, and it's so gross, and it's my job to clean the thing, and it's poorly designed, so there's all these places for the gunk to stick, and that's how I feel a lot of the time, especially this last year. But over the weekend, I seem to have accidentally found a way to clear that filter, to get that gunk that's been building up in my brain. And it's not just your brain, it's your heart. This is where it really seems to stick. It's not a brain issue, it's a heart issue. Absolutely. Yeah. On Saturdays, I like to get out of the house with my boys. They're 15 and 10. Number one, it gives my wife, well, actually that would be number two. It gives my wife a chance to work on the novels that she's writing. But mostly I just like having my guy time with my guys. We have a lot of fun together. And this last year has been difficult because those times have been limited. And when we have been able to go out and do stuff, there have been fewer things to do with fewer people and all the rest. But this last Saturday was a really busy one. First, I had to take them out for haircuts because my kids were looking like damn hippies, and we can't have that. They were way overdoing their haircuts. There's a barber shop in town, not one of these super great sport clip chains, but an actual local barber shop with some like male barbers who tell dirty jokes and stuff. Just, it's wonderful. And there's a little hand marker note taped to the counter next to the cash register that says something like masks required for entry. But if you have a medical condition, we're not going to invade your privacy by asking you about it. And as a result, I think one guy in the whole barbershop was wearing a mask, but he wasn't giving anybody any hell about not wearing a mask. He was there doing his thing by choice, just like we were doing our thing by choice. And my boys got their haircuts, and then we were off to up north to Castle Rock for lunch. And I won't tell you where we went because I don't want to get in any trouble. And this isn't all about masks. This is just two visible examples because they're so common now. Our waitress came by and asked if she checked with her manager if it was okay if we minded if she pulled her mask down while talking to us because she likes that personal connection. And I said, please. We went to the gun range where I bought ammo and a new pistol, just like a normal, ordinary day that doesn't have a Democrat in the White House, which was great. Now, the background check took a couple of days, so I have to go back to pick it up, but I'm the proud new owner, if not actual recipient yet, of a Glock 44 22 LR for keeping my target skills honed. I came home with the boys, and even though our idiot governor here in Colorado had declared March 20th to be our meat out day, where everyone's supposed to be vegetarian, I grilled up steaks for myself, my wife, and the kids, and we were just total carnivores for dinner, and it was wonderful. And then Sunday was another day. I had a couple of errands to run. I ran them. Nobody hassled anybody. There was no woke culture. Nobody was getting canceled. I met my best friend for lunch. We had huge bowls of pho. We could barely walk after. It was great. And I had, Bill, a normal weekend, which apparently we can do now in Colorado. And I can't tell you what it meant to me, my kids, my wife, to have a normal weekend. If you can't have one of those in California because things are still too locked down, I've got two words for you: road trip. Road trip. Get on I-70, head east. When you get to Denver, turn right on I-25, come to Monument. We will put you up for a normal weekend. We will feed you red meat and red wine until that gunk is cleared out of your filter, okay?
Thank you. Scott, Steve makes a point that I think is really important, and this strikes me more and more every day. When I go outside and talk to people, when I go grocery shopping, for example, I find everybody is very nice. I find that everybody's getting along. I find that nobody's filled with murderous hate towards each other. I find that I hold the door for black men hold the door for me. We have interactions. We say hello. Nobody's filled with this burning rage. And I realize that we're spending so much of our time in this. I almost used a French word, but I'm not going to go there. We're just in this information stream so much of the time that I suppose a great deal of this is me thinking that this is how things are, is just this endless flow of insanity. And I guess that just the fact that you can go out into the world and see that no, it's not like everybody is constantly on this thing. But I just want to be so clear on this. This isn't despair. It's heartache, Scott. That's the word for it. Yeah. It's just heartache. It's watching this happen to this country is just painful. And sometimes it's so painful that I just have to stare at a wall. And my job is to not stare at a wall. The thing about a filter is you've got to take all of these particles and you got to stop the ones that are poisonous and try and make sense out of the rest of it. And I guess since I didn't have a topic that wasn't one of those three things, I just thought I'd talk about this. Because I got nothing.
Early on when you were talking about this, for some reason I pictured, and maybe I remembered this, maybe I just created it out of whole cloth, but I pictured a New Yorker style cartoon where, one of those sparsely drawn, with one line underneath it. And it would be two guys who are clearly assembly line workers. And the one is saying to the other, they're like at an auto factory. And one is saying to the other, I think I've lost my muse. And I think that to a certain sense, we are on an assembly line.
No, that's great.
And it just keeps, cranking. Your filter analogy, I think, is great. And the way a filter works is fascinating because basically it's a bucket of sand. And so the water comes out of this pool, goes through the bucket of sand, shoots back into the pool, and the sand catches the residue and returns the clean water to the pool. And you, my friend, and I are that sand bucket. And you know, there's a lot of stuff flowing through us, and over time, the residue accumulates. And it's not all at once. I mean, although every once in a while there's just a story that just rips your guts out and you just feel like you can't go on. But, you know, you need that backwash opportunity that Steve was talking about. You need to have something where you can go and purify that. In fact, I'm not sure that a swimming pool filter is the best analogy. I remember one of the jobs that the pledges had at the fraternity was to clean the kitchen grease trap. And I think that's probably more evocative than just the stuff that comes out of a swimming pool, because it was the worst stuff I ever smelled. And I used to work on a hog farm. Here's what keeps me going is because there's something, and I'm probably butchering the term, but years ago I was listening to a tape and they were talking about your reticular activating system, which is basically this idea of what you focus on, what catches your eye and holds your attention and keeps it. And I think our reticular activating systems have been tuned to find a certain kind of content. And because of that, we find a lot of it. Now, there's a lot of it out there, but we find it to the exclusion of the other content, the nice people at the supermarket who open the door for each other. You know, we notice that more than we notice, you know, the nice lady at the restaurant that Steve was talking about. And you have to have something in your life that supersedes all of that. Like all of these news stories are trying to bring me down. And for me, there's a story that lifts me up. You know, and those who've been watching for a while know that this is the story of the life, death, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus Christ. And so that, to me, very seriously, is what keeps me going. You know, everything else can be going negative, and when I see people behaving badly, I remember that Jesus said, hey, look, this is people. This is how people are. If you read the Bible, you understand all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. You don't have expectations that it's going to be different than that, but there is hope. Now, there's always hope at the end because, you know, when a guy gets out of the grave and says, hey, you want to come with me or you want to stick around with these chumps who are constantly stumbling through and making mistakes and intentionally doing things wrong? I say, okay, Jesus, I'll stick with the guy who got up out of the grave. I'm going with you. And that to me is a meta-narrative that overrules everything else. And no matter how bad things are going, I always find refuge in that. And I go back to that primal story that says, this means more than any of this garbage you're seeing on cable news.
Thank you. That's actually wonderful from both of you guys. I want to be like crystal clear about this particular one. I've got on the desktop here that I'm looking at. I'm looking at 2 or 3 scripts that I've written that I haven't shot, and I haven't shot them because I don't know if I believe in them. It's not that I don't believe in the principles. I believe in the principles. It gets to the point where, for example, I've got a script that's written to shoot for Moving Back to America about a guy who's talking about skiing and how racist skiing is. And as I started dissecting this article, I realized this must be parody. Surely it is. And then I realized I couldn't tell if it was or not. I had no way of knowing if this is parody or not. Am I going to be trolled here by taking this seriously? And that's why I kind of held my fire on that. I don't feel despair. I don't feel like we're going to lose. I genuinely think that what's going on for me right now is that I look around and see people getting more and more miserable, and that's good in its way. If all of these changes were making people happier, if all of these losses of those freedoms, all of this destruction of the rule of law, all the things that matter to me and to you, if those things were going on and everybody was partying, we'd be just finished. But that's not what's happening. Everybody's unhappy. Everybody. That tells me that eventually this is going to blow over and we're going to win. I fully believe that. But there are just simply times when it's like, I don't know what else to say about COVID-19 right now. I just don't know what else to say that hasn't been said before. So I guess I'm bringing this up for one reason, and that is that we talk about issues on the show and all the other shows we do here, and we try to analyze them. We try to find an angle to understand them. We try to keep them positive and upbeat. But I think the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I realize that I can't be the only person in America who's feeling this way right now. We see a story, and you see a story. For me, when I see a story that makes me sick, I have to also look at all the other links to see where that story goes, and I have to spend 5 or 6 hours on this thing that makes me sick in order to put something together on it. But I know everybody must feel this way. I know everybody out there must feel like the lunatics have taken over the asylum. There is no law anymore. There's no more Justice Department. I don't trust the FBI. The military is now getting into political commentary and is filled with this woke disease. I can't be the only person who looks around and says, what the hell is happening here? And it's my job to answer that question if I can. So all of this simply to say, if you're feeling this way, welcome to the club. Nobody knows how things are going to turn out. We all do the best that we can. My faith in the ideas of this country are as unshakable as anything in the world. And my faith in the people that I see out there is also unshakable. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how crazy things are going to get before they stop being crazy. And when they stop being crazy, I don't know if that's going to happen fast or whether that's going to happen slowly. But I know it's going to happen because you cannot run a world in defiance of gravity. You cannot. This cannot continue forever. So I guess in the same way that we kind of walk through the COVID thing together, I'm walking through this thing together with everybody, with my friend Steve and Scott, and with all of you out there. There are times when the world seems unrecognizable and not in a good way. And then we do what we do. We just say, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to relax, spend some time with my wife, and I'll tell you what I tell everybody else. I'll see you tomorrow morning. And we'll also see you next week right here on Right Angle.